Okay, I thought I would do a little show and tell here. I was looking through some books on my shelf and I came across the rubber stamp Sourcebook. This is a publication from 1995 and I have an updated version right here. But this is a publication by David Ward, and this is all pre-internet back in 1995, and there weren't too many different places that you can see a good representation of all the different companies that were out there. There was Rubber Stamp Madness, in which had ads, but this was a book that was a little bit different. It was a book that you can find in a place like like a Barnes and Noble or Borders bookstore, and you can probably order it too. And he probably advertised in Rubber Stamp Madness as well, or I'm guessing, and you can order it direct. But what it was you would take out these pages like an ad, and you would lay them out, okay? And in this one there are 120 different companies, and it says there's over 3,000 images in here. But you would, probably lay out a good representation of the types of images that that you offered, in your line of stamps. This one happens to be Gumbo Graphics here. That was one of my favorite companies. I loved their engravings and their curated grouping of both old and original designs. But all kinds of different companies in here. So a lot of them I've heard of, I have to kind of think back, a long time ago, and the different companies that I used to see advertised in Rubber Stamp Madness. And I would also see at the different shows that were around. But also, in addition to a grouping of designs by these companies, they went into some kind of fundamental kind of techniques and, I don't know, media that you might use with rubber stamping. Okay, and this one's talking about masking right here, using a brayer. And it would kind of be interspersed amongst all of these different company pages in here. Good Stamps, Stamp Goods, love them. Used to see them at all the, at least the West Coast conventions. I don't. Back then too, there weren't a lot of conventions, kind of spread around the world, or around in the U.S. Most of the conventions back in 1994 were kind of West Coast, and then Heirloom came in and started kind of going around the entire nation. Good Impressions, that was another company that I really liked, those kind of real tight, detailed engravings. Embossing right here goes into, I like the illustrations they used to have too. Good the Elephant. Boy, I haven't thought about that company in a long time. But it was kind of cool. It was a way for people to kind of get this book. And if you were a rubber stamper, you probably bought this book back then, because there was, kind of publications were in short supply. And this is a good way to see, at least a small grouping of stamps. And then in the back of this book right here, it goes into resources. There were things called these stamp bucks right here. You think people could cut out a stamp buck and send it in, and it would be a discount off of, stamps purchased, from these different companies, and you would honor that dollar. I don't know. I think there was a way to redeem it or something like that from the publication. But here's all the resources right here with all the different addresses. And boy, there was a. Let me see. What is this? Quick reference columns. Okay. Oh, this is the different categories of stamps that you might find from these different companies that advertised in here. So let's see, here's Stampscapes. I'm on page 176. I do retail, wholesale, what the catalog cost was at the time. if that catalog cost was refundable. If you offered unmounted stamps, and if you had a retail store, okay, there's a lot of these companies in here that also had a retail store, and you can see here there's quite a few that offered unmounted stamps, but not as many as you might think. Well, actually, I guess there were quite a few. On some of these pages there weren't, but a lot of it was everyone offered wood-mounted stamps, as that was the the standard. But here's some companies down here that were wholesale only, and those were some of the kind of the larger stamp companies at the time. A lot of them didn't advertise in here, like Rubber Stampede and All Night Media. Let me see if Printworks is in here. Yeah, Printworks is in here. A lot of the larger stamp companies didn't bother with this. Here's the rubber stamps A to Z, and these are the categories that they listed. Okay, so that was something that you submitted with your artwork. And back in the day, all these things were submitted in hard copy format. Most of them were, just paste ups and whatnot. Stamp Francisco, fantastic company. Spud World. I don't know if these were, man, I would say it sounds like a potato carving type of thing, but I think it was just the name of that. World of Rubber Stamps. Hey, that was the Quarter Moon. Boy, some of these companies were fairly big at the time. Ornamentum, Museum of Modern Rubber. I love them at all the different shows and their booth design. Mirror Image. Love this guy. Fantastic stuff. But here's some more of the different little articles. This is fabric stamping. I guess he would hire some different writers to write up a little kind of description of that entire process and technique. But anyways, this was a really great source, Imaginaire, for different stampers at the time. It was really a good resource for everyone. And I have a stamp company, of course, but this is a great resource for me, and in terms of I don't know, getting a hold and writing into some of my favorite companies in terms of getting their catalogs and ordering. This is Stamp of the Hand company. That was the company that I formerly worked for, but this is let me see, these three stamps here are my design from them, so I didn't always do nature designs. Here's some kind of a Valentine's Day types of imagery in these streamers. Those were really popular. People would love embossing these or just stamping them in, coloring them in. These butterfly streamers right here is a nice decorative border, or just some kind of I don't know, decorative element for a card. But it's kind of fun to go back through here and to look at some different companies that that I haven't thought about in quite some time, if they haven't been around for a long time. But boy, it's really something kind of going through here and checking this out. I was looking in the back of here earlier. Here's universal order forms, so you can take a look at these different companies in here. Toy Box, and look at their codes for their stamps, and I think you'd have to you can write that code in here and order it from whatever company, and then I guess you would call into that company and say how much is your stamp number whatever, and then you would write the price for each one, because prices change and you didn't list the pricing for all of these different images, so you'd have to contact those companies direct. But I guess those order forms continued on this side as well. Books, resources for different books in here that were out at the time. Boy, some of these books were around for quite some time. It looked like this one was from The Art of Rubber Stamping, 1991. I remember Michelle Abel came around to a Stamp of the Hand company getting some information. But I don't know, colored pencil techniques. I guess these weren't just books just solely on rubber stamping, but kind of techniques that you might use with it. But, oh, bibliography. What else is going on here? Videos. You know, there were some videos out there at the time, I guess. Going back to 1995 VHS, of course. Magazines that were out, National Stamper. I guess there were a lot more magazines than I thought there were. Stamper Sampler, I guess, was out at the time. I think that was 1994 or so. Maybe 93, I'm not sure. Mail art and Artistamp resources. Okay, so mail art was a big thing back then too. And look at all these are pages and pages of mail art. International too, France. I don't know, it goes on and on, but he was fairly comprehensive. Glossary, you know, different terminology that might be used in here. Or repeat, stamping an image more than once, you know, to create a border or row. What is this? Stamp used in this book. Okay, so he used a spattering of images throughout the book. Index here. A lot of things in the index. It was just a ton of work on his part, you know, to do this. But anyways, this is going back, and then this was another one right here. I think most people updated their listing in here, and this one came out in 1999, so 4 years later. I don't know, like I said, it was a ton of work on his part, I'm sure. Here's a cost. I guess I took out probably a one-page thing. Oh, and he turned it into color right here. There was a couple spreads in here that were in color that included samples in the updated version. Oh, here's someone did my Sean Ishikawa using my stamps from the Stamp of the Hand right here. So scenic stamping right here. Oh, there's my stamp from Stamp of the Hand, my cloud in the background. Oh, some scenic stamping right here, but this is kind of really indicative of the types of stampings that were done. The card formats weren't quite as elaborate back then, you know, with the things that we were using at the time, but different companies and whatnot in here. Oh, it looks like they went into a stamp store listing in here too as well by the time 1999 came about. There weren't as many stores back in 1995. Was that the first one? I said I can't remember. But a lot more stores started popping up, so it looks like that was a significant addition to this updated version in here. But still going back, rubber monger, you know, rubber age stamps, rubber scrubba. I don't remember that one. I think I remember Rubba Bubba though. Stamping on polymer clay started becoming very popular. But anyways, I won't go through this page by page, but it's kind of fun to see. I don't know if you can find these books anymore. You might be able to find them on eBay or something like that, or you can do a search on it, you know, just if you're kind of curious about it. Alice in Rubberland, they always had a cool booth at the Carson convention back when I used to see them. Project ideas, materials to stamp on, Dyna vinyl, whatever that is, aluminum foil, porcelain, shrink plastic, that was really big at one time. People are still using it, but I don't know, stamp techniques. What is this? Stamping in the house, bathroom tiles here, furniture, lampshades, trays, walls, clothes to stamp baby clothes, blouses, food to stamps, you know, cookies, chocolate, cake. I guess. I don't know. I don't remember that being done, but anyways, Rubber Stamp Sourcebook, David Ward. David Ward, if you're out there, thank you for doing these books back then. Fun stuff, and kind of fun stuff to look through at this point in time, you know, looking back in time at these. So anyways, a little show and tell there. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.